What if I told you your brain isn't the only thing controlling your mood? Deep inside your abdomen is something scientists call the second brain, the enteric nervous system. It's a dense network of over 100 million neurons that lives in your gut. And while it doesn't think or dream like your brain, it does something just as powerful. It talks to your brain, non-stop. This second brain responds to stress, produces neurotransmitters, and manages hormones that shape how you feel mentally and emotionally. Ever had a gut feeling? Or butterflies before a big moment? That's not just imagination, it's real biology. Your gut and brain are in constant conversation, and when your gut is out of balance, your mind can feel it too. But how does this happen? And what's really going on in that microbiome? It starts with a brain chemical no one expects to find in your belly called serotonin. Serotonin, often called the feel-good neurotransmitter, plays a key role in regulating your mood, anxiety levels, and overall emotional stability. Most people assume it's made in the brain, but here's the truth. Nearly 90% of your body's serotonin is actually produced in the gut. That's right, your gut isn't just a digestive organ, it's a hormone factory, and serotonin is one of its star products. Inside your intestinal walls, specialized cells called enterochromaffin cells help produce serotonin. But they don't work alone, they rely on help from trillions of bacteria in your gut microbiome. These microbes don't just digest food, they send chemical messages that help regulate the production and release of serotonin. When your gut is in balance, serotonin production tends to stay steady. But when the gut is inflamed, leaky, or overloaded with processed foods, harmful bacteria can multiply and serotonin levels can plummet. The result? Anxiety, mood swings, and a sense that something just feels off. Recent studies have found that people with anxiety often have less diverse gut bacteria and higher markers of inflammation. It's not a coincidence. What you eat and how your gut responds to it may be directly shaping your emotional health. So who's really controlling your mood? Let's meet them next, your microbiome. Inside your gut lives a massive community of microbes, about 100 trillion bacteria, outnumbering your human cells by nearly 10 to 1. This collection is called the gut microbiome, and it plays a far bigger role in mental health than most people realize. Roughly 95% of your body's serotonin is either produced or influenced by your gut microbiota. Some bacteria help synthesize serotonin directly, while others support the production of GABA and dopamine neurotransmitters that reduce stress and promote calm. A 2022 study published in Nature Microbiology found that people with higher diversity in gut bacteria had 31% lower rates of anxiety symptoms than those with low diversity. But when that microbial balance is disrupted, a condition known as dysbiosis, the opposite happens. Harmful bacteria release toxins, trigger inflammation, and interfere with neurotransmitter production. One meta-analysis of over 2,000 participants showed that individuals with anxiety had significantly lower levels of lactobacillus and bifidobacterium, two beneficial bacteria strains. And it's not just diet. Antibiotics, stress, alcohol, and even lack of sleep can all weaken the microbiome. In fact, just 7 days of poor diet can start reducing gut diversity, and that impacts your brain fast. So what happens when the gut barrier itself starts to break down? Let's talk about leaky gut. Imagine your gut lining as a tight filter only allowing nutrients through while keeping harmful substances out. But under stress, poor diet, or chronic inflammation, that lining can weaken. This is what scientists call intestinal permeability, or more commonly, leaky gut. When the gut barrier becomes compromised, toxins, bacteria, and undigested food particles can leak into the bloodstream. This triggers an immune response, flooding your system with inflammatory cytokines, chemicals that don't just affect your body, they affect your brain. In fact, a 2020 review in Frontiers in Psychiatry linked elevated gut permeability with increased anxiety and depressive symptoms. Another study found that people with mood disorders had 43% higher levels of zonulin, a protein that regulates gut wall tightness. The brain reacts to the systemic inflammation by disrupting neurotransmitters and increasing stress hormone production. This explains why you might feel anxious, fatigued, or emotionally flat, without any obvious trigger. And here's the tough part, this inflammation cycle feeds back into the gut, making things worse over time. So, what can you do to break the loop? Let's talk about how stress affects your gut, because it's not just one-way communication. The gut and brain aren't just connected, they're in constant two-way conversation. And just as the gut influences the brain, chronic stress can wreak havoc on your digestive system. When you're stressed, your brain triggers the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal (HPA) axis, releasing cortisol, the body's main stress hormone. While cortisol is helpful short-term, long-term exposure disrupts gut function. It slows digestion, reduces blood flow to the intestines, and weakens the gut lining. A 2021 study published in Cell Host and Microbe showed that high stress levels significantly reduce microbial diversity and increase pro-inflammatory gut bacteria. In animal studies, mice exposed to prolonged stress had a marked decrease in lactobacillus, a bacteria known to reduce anxiety-like behavior. Worse still, chronic stress can alter stomach acid production and digestive enzyme output, creating an environment where harmful microbes thrive. One clinical study found that individuals with high psychological stress had up to 40% fewer beneficial bacteria species compared to those with low stress. This creates a dangerous loop. Stress damages your gut, and a damaged gut sends distress signals back to your brain. But you can break this cycle. The right foods can calm both your gut and your nerves. Let's look at what the science says about eating for anxiety relief. If your gut and brain are constantly talking, then food is the language they use. And according to recent research, what you eat can either reduce anxiety or intensify it. One of the most studied diets for mental health is the Mediterranean diet, rich in vegetables, fruits, whole grains, olive oil, legumes, nuts, and fish. A 2019 randomized controlled trial in PLOS 1 found that participants who switched to a Mediterranean-style diet experienced a 32% reduction in symptoms of anxiety and depression after just 12 weeks. Fermented foods like yogurt, kefir, kimchi, and sauerkraut are also proven allies. In a 2022 study from Frontiers in Nutrition, people who consumed fermented foods at least 3 times per week had lower levels of cortisol and 23% fewer reported anxiety symptoms than those who didn't. Then there's fiber, especially prebiotic fiber found in oats, garlic, leeks, and bananas. One clinical trial showed that adding 6 grams of prebiotic fiber daily improved sleep and reduced stress markers by 28%. Omega-3 fatty acids, found in fatty fish like salmon, reduce inflammation and support brain function. Studies suggest that just 2 grams per day can significantly lower anxiety symptoms in high-stress individuals. So, what's the daily strategy? Improving your mental health doesn't always require a major lifestyle overhaul. In fact, just a few consistent, science-backed habits can make a big impact on your gut and your mood. Habit 1. Start your day with prebiotic fiber. Prebiotics are the fuel for your good gut bacteria. Adding just 5 to 7 grams of prebiotic fiber daily, from foods like oats, garlic, onions, or green bananas, can significantly increase beneficial strains like Bifidobacterium. A 2021 study in Nutrients found that daily prebiotic intake improved emotional regulation and reduced cortisol by up to 23%. Habit 2. Add 1 fermented food daily. A spoon of yogurt, a few bites of kimchi, or a glass of kefir can introduce billions of live cultures to your gut. In a 2022 Stanford study, participants who ate 1 to 2 servings of fermented food daily saw a diversity spike in gut bacteria and decreased markers of inflammation, both closely tied to anxiety. Habit 3. Mindful eating and meal timing. Slowing down, chewing thoroughly, and avoiding late-night eating helps your gut digest properly. Studies show that eating mindfully reduces anxiety by up to 21%, especially in high-stress individuals. Now, let's bring it all together, because your anxiety might not just be in your head. Anxiety is often treated like it's all in your head, but the truth is, much of it may be starting in your gut. We've seen how gut bacteria shape your mood, how serotonin is mostly made in your digestive tract, and how stress and food choices either strengthen or destroy this delicate system. Research is clear: a balanced microbiome, supported by fermented foods, fiber, and healthy fats, can lower inflammation, stabilize neurotransmitter production, and help reduce anxiety symptoms. In fact, studies show that gut-focused lifestyle changes can be as effective as low-dose antidepressants in some mild to moderate cases without the side effects. The gut-brain axis is real. It's dynamic, personal, and incredibly powerful. So if you've been feeling off, anxious, or constantly stressed, maybe it's time to stop blaming your mindset and start listening to your microbiome. Because it's not just about how you feel. It's also about what you feed. And we're not done yet. Like this breakdown? Hit like, subscribe, and tell us, do you already eat for your mental health?